Welcome to the presentation I'm calling Frosty Freeze. Yes, we're going to take this normal, everyday landscape image and make it look like a winter wonderland with a single additional layer. Simplicity is always best. Now, you're going to decide after you see this presentation if this is practically ridiculous or ridiculously practical. Now, I must bring to your attention that you might actually learn something even though you may never turn one of your images into a winter wonderland. Let's get started. I'm going to throw away my frost layer at this time by dragging it here to the base of my layers palette. Then, moving over to create new layer, again at the base of the layers palette, I'm going to click once. It's in this new layer that we're going to place our Frosty Freeze. Next, moving over to my marquee tool, I'm going to select this and move back into my work area. I want to select a small region within my image, about this size. Then, moving up to my filter and down to render and over to clouds. Clouds is the secret to this technique. Now, why did I make the clouds into this small little space? Because I'm going to expand the size of this. When you generate clouds, they tend to be rather small. Also, take note that my current foreground and background color are set to the default settings of black for the foreground and white for the background. Remember, the keystroke to quickly get back to the defaults is the D key for defaults from your keyboard. Now moving forward, I'm going to select my zoom tool because I want to zoom out a little bit so I can see more of the image. You now see a plus sign inside of the magnifying glass. If you hold down your Option or Alt key, it changes to a minus sign. Then you click once so you have a little bit more working area around your image. Moving up to the Edit menu and down to Free Transform. Now I'm going to select the upper right hand corner of this image, click and hold, then I'm going to hold down the Option or Alt key so that it scales from the center. And I can move away from the center just like this. I'm going to move beyond the boundaries of the image because I want a little bit of flexibility to move this cloud pattern around. Letting go of my mouse and my Option or Alt key, I can then select the Enter key to resolve the scaling to this size. When generating clouds, it generates it based upon the foreground and background color, as I said earlier. But the contrast for this particular set of clouds is a little too high for this particular project. A nice easy way to adjust this is to target the layer that you want to adjust, then go to Image, Adjustments, and over to Levels. In this particular case, I'm going to use Output Levels. I'm going to reassign all of the dark black values in this image to a lighter gray value. If I target this slider here on the left, the black slider, and move it to the right, I can then reassign everything that's black to a new shade of gray. I'm going to go down here quite a ways. In this particular project, I found that I needed to go to about 147. I have a nice light gray and a white. Then I click OK. Let's now move up here to the blending modes for this particular targeted layer. I'm going to click on the word Normal and go down to Screen. I want to screen this over the image. This technique in itself is quite interesting. It looks like fog appearing over the image. But let's take it to the next magical step, and that involves layer styles. With this layer still targeted, I'm moving up here to Layer and down to Layer Style and over to Blending Options. I want to blend these two layers together, but in a very special way. Down here at the base of this Layer Style dialog, you see Blend If. Now in this case, I want to blend if it's blue. And I want to blend if it's blue for the underlying layer only. Now watch this. if I move this dark slider here on the left over to the right, I start to exclude or remove all those areas which are dark and contain a large amount of blue, because this is an RGB image. And you can control how the two blend together based upon these sliders. It's fairly abrupt, too abrupt for this project. Let's slide this back over. Hold down your Option or Alt key to divide this in half, to soften the transition so it's not on or off, but it has a gentle transition. Watch the ice crystals start to form on the grass. In fact, if I move too far, I only get a fog in the sky. I move back, and the ice crystals form. So a gentle adjustment of these sliders will then give you the results you're looking for. Now keep in mind, every image is different, so the adjustment to these sliders will be based upon the amount of red, green, and blue values found in your image. Let's continue along here and select the green channel. Okay, once again, hold down the Option or Alt key to divide the triangle in half, then move this triangle over to the right and soften the transition. You can see the clouds are thinning in the background. So this particular slider is making my clouds more transparent, whereas the blue slider gave me more of the frost effect on the grass. So let's leave that there, and let's try the red and see what effect that has. Option or Alt key, divide the triangle, move to the right. I'm focusing here in on the darker values in the image, but keep in mind you may also get interesting results by selecting the highlight values in the image, not only for the underlying layer, but also for the top layer, which is indicated by this layer. Let's click OK and take a look at the results. Looks great. We now have our frosty freeze of a morning. Let's bring this up in size and take a closer look. Just like that. Fantastic. If you want to save this style to apply to other layers within your documents, simply target the layer that you've applied the style to, in this case layer number 1, then move down into the Styles palette, wait till you see the bucket tool, then click. It allows you then to name this, and be sure that Include Layer Blending Options has been checked. That way we're going to save these adjustments we made in the Layers Style dialog. Then we click OK, and it is saved down here as part of our set. You've just finished your project. Now, was this ridiculously practical or practically ridiculous? You decide.